Could L catch Epstein? Lock in, yo, lock in.
It would take L less than 5 minutes to solve the Epstein case, and that's me being generous. Let me break down exactly why, and more importantly, how. Spoiler alert, I'm also going to bring up light Yagami, so you absolutely need to watch till the end of the video. First, we'll power scale L to understand the depth of his genius.
How can
you see, in the
power
world of
scale
Death
him?
Note, the three greatest detectives on Earth, L, Geraldo Coyle,
He has
and
no
Denev,
feats.
are
Wait,
actually
hold on.
all the same person. And this man has been at the top of the global
He
investigation
has
scene
no feats.
since he
How
was
could you,
only...
How could you power scale L? He literally has no feats. I can understand like saying, oh, I power scale Naruto, or I power scale Luffy, or some shit like that. But like, I mean, it's just knowledge. It's not like, it's not power. You know what I'm saying? You can scale him by intellectual ability, but you can't do it by like how strong is he? Because this nigga never fought. He only kicked L in the face. I mean, not L. He only kicked Light in the face. That's it. L looks like he would be on the island. He looks like he'd be on the island, and I don't mean as the guest. So you think he's one of the doers?
8 years old, which is when he single-handedly
man.
prevented World War III. Now,
Have
the
you seen
public
Death
record
Note?
says he solved over 3,500 difficult cases, but the real number is significantly higher because of those alternate identities. To give you an idea of the scale he operates on, Mello, one of his successors, once mentioned that L maintains at least triple-digit active codes for various detective personas. Still, if you want the one intelligence feat that's relevant here, it's this. Back when his rogue successor, Beyond Birthday, created a crossword puzzle so complex that an entire team of policemen gave up on it, and even the elite FBI agent Naomi Misora thought it was designed to be impossible, L solved it instantly. And Beyond
didn't
Birthday
Light
is
kill her?
not
Or
a
am I
fraud.
bugging?
He is the primary antagonist of the Los Angeles BB murder cases novel. And he's...
Why is he always got his toes out? Bro, if you watch the show, he was like, oh, besides the shirt and pants, it like holds him back because he does that pose where like he sits on the chair like this, and he's like this the whole time with his legs up because like it boosts your thinking skills or something like that, he said. And so like he doesn't wear shoes. I forgot why he doesn't wear shoes.
genius enough to
I think it's
act
'cause
as
it makes him
L's
smarter.
evil clone. When he tried convincing Naomi that he was actually L, he read a 376-page book in under 5 minutes and memorized every page perfectly. Now, if
tweaking.
he's pulling off feats like that and L is superior to him, you can imagine what L's photographic memory looks like. So when I say L can solve the Epstein case in 5 minutes, I'm not being hyperbolic. If anything, I'm being conservative.
In 5
This
minutes
man
is
processes information faster than entire
Is he
government
bad?
investigative bureaus combined. He can monitor dozens of computer screens simultaneously and absorb every data point perfectly.
You said
And because
she
he
bad.
immediately understands every data point, he can weigh every probability in real time and calculate precise percentages in his head. But here's where
Yeah,
it
that is
gets
crazy,
tricky.
everyone.
I'm sure that you can already tell that superhuman genius alone isn't enough to solve the Epstein problem.
That's not-
You see,
that's
L
not
is a
power scale,
detective.
though.
Yes, he's the top one detective, but he's limited in what he can do. His whole thing is narrowing down suspects in closed systems. But how does that work with Epstein? The way Epstein operated has been well documented since at least 2005. The real problem was never a lack of evidence. It was that too many people in power were either compromised or complicit. Having said that, let's see how this actually plays out. The year is 2005, March 2005 to be precise. A stepmother contacts the Palm Beach police because her 14-year-old stepdaughter about it. She ended up explaining the entire recruitment pipeline.
Yo, I ran.
Basically,
Bro, I ran. Nigga, I ran. Fuck, bro, I ran. I was so fucking tired. Goddamn.
classmate had approached her at school and offered her money to give an older man a massage. The classmate drove her to a pink mansion at 358 El Brillo Way. Once in, Epstein entered wearing nothing but a towel. And I'll spare you the details, but to make a long story short, she walked away with $300. Now, at first, this looks like a case of a local rich pedo creep.
Okay, that's prostitution, is it not? Paying for the goods, am I right? Or am I right? That's prostitution.
Nothing about it suggests you're dealing with a man who has billion-dollar financial leverage, a global contract list, and 2 decades of cultivating
And you get paid
relationships
for
with
it?
presidents, royalty, and prosecutors. But by October 2005, Detective Rick Harry was interviewing victim after victim, and the pattern was identical every single time. Girls would get recruited by their friends. They'd be driven to the same mansion, asked to give a massage, but as you can expect, it would often escalate to God knows what. And then
It's a fucking corn massage. It's not, no.
they'd get money. And here's the thing. Once a
Money?
girl was in, she was in. She'd be pressured to bring more girls, which is how the network just kept expanding. And Epstein was particular about them being young.
Nah, fries. Nah. Nah, nigga.
So, okay, Rickeri built his case methodically. He collected everything from property rec proving Epstein owned the mansion, to flight logs showing travel between Palm Beach, New York, New Mexico, and Little St. James Island in the Caribbean. Not to mention witness statements describing the same housekeeper, the same recruitment methods, the same cash payments. He documented everything. By May 2006, Detective Joseph Rickeri submitted a comprehensive probable cause affidavit to the Palm Beach County State Attorney's Office. It was the culmination of an 11-month investigation, and clearly had overwhelming evidence for direct charges. But rather than filing charges based on Rickeri's affidavit, State Attorney Barry Krischer took the case to a grand jury, and the grand jury returned a very limited indictment. And as we know, it ultimately led to the controversial 2008 non-prosecution agreement. Now, why am I bringing all this up? To show you just how much was known even back in 2005. Plus, for this scenario, we're going to assume Elle gets a chance to look at Rickeri's affidavit in May 2006. We know the Death Note anime came out in October 2006, right? Well, even though the manga came out much earlier for this scenario, let's just say that the main story of Death Note took place between 2006 and 2007. So this would be a few months.
I guess from a hustler's point of view, like, nigga, $300 from just a massage is not crazy. Anybody would take that, but like, nah, when you're looking at it from like the outside, that's weird.
Before Light picks up the Death Note. And here is exactly how Elle solves it within 5 minutes. He goes through the affidavit, and immediately, within minutes, he solves the case. And I don't mean the way Rickeri did. No. Elle goes much deeper. He connects the dots and realizes instantly that Epstein's ring is global. He sees that it implicates a stupid number of powerful people. We're talking billionaires, government officials, presidents, royalty, and more. Plus, Elle also figures out that Epstein is systematically collecting blackmail material on all of these powerful figures for a specific country that just popped up in everyone's head. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into specific names or the countries involved to keep things straightforward for the video, but basically, Elle realizes that by 2006, Epstein had already been operating for decades. Most importantly, he understands that Epstein currently holds more institutional power and protection than even he does. The #1 detective in the world. Naturally, this also confirms that the Department of Justice and the FBI he works as part of are compromised. This is where it stops being a detective case. You see, in Death Note, Elle commands Interpol, Japanese National Police, FBI liaisons, and the Kira Task Force. He has institutional authority, but that also means he needs the system to actually work with him. Now that same system is compromised and complicit, so if Elle plays by the rules, he'll get nowhere, which is why he has no choice but to take matters into his own hands. When the director of the FBI learns that Elle is looking into the files, Elle receives an invitation to Little St. James, the so-called Epstein Island. By this point, Epstein has owned this island for 7 years. Alright, what now? Elle is invited. And if you think that's stupid, and you're wondering why on earth Epstein would invite a potential threat like Elle to his private island, you have to keep in mind who we're dealing with. This is the same guy who was revealing every bit of information about
your friend Alien told me about the project, so she's doing research. Really, a really bad guy that gets children for sex sent his island. She almost fainted when I told her that person is me.
What he does over Gmail, while most of you out here are using VPNs just to pirate some anime and games. Yes, elites aren't exactly high IQ.
I pirate all my games.
So once Epstein learns that the FBI's top detective is finally onto him, his first instinct is to simply invite the guy over. Of course, Elle knows exactly what the play is going to be, but he still goes ahead and accepts the invitation for 2 reasons. First, it's because even though he has a sense of morality and justice, his primary motivation is the desire to win, and because of that, he simply can't bring himself to back away from a challenge like this. Second, it's because he can tell exactly why Epstein would invite him in the first place. Now, from the looks of it, it's Watari who makes the trip while carrying a laptop with Elle connected via voice chat. The second Watari steps off the helicopter, Elle starts cataloging everything. He notices right away that the staff to guest ratio is crazy. So there are dozens of employees just for a handful of visitors. He sees how every single sightline is controlled, how the security cameras monitor every guest, and how the entire environment is designed for observation and control. Epstein gives him the tour and then eventually offers Watari a drink. He accepts a glass of water, and after observing the glass for a split second through the screen, he takes a sip. They sit on the terrace, and at this point, Epstein just goes ahead and comes right out with what he's doing. He explains how he has the most powerful people in the world on camera, everyone from presidents and royalty to prime ministers, bankers, and scientists. Epstein leans forward.
And that's how That's how it happens. That's how it happens. Like, now that I'm seeing this, that's how it happens, nigga. Like, he'll be like, hey, come to the island. Then when you're on the island, then you're fried. Then you're fried. You don't know it's him, but then when you come to the island, then you're fried. Then you're fried. Cause I'm like, oh nigga, I have a picture of you here, so I can ruin you if you don't do what I tell you. Damn. It gets deep.
And as Elle sees the void in his eyes, he reveals that what he and his backers are ultimately seeking is control. Then Epstein extends his hand toward the laptop and offers Elle a chance to become an equal partner. He wants to use Elle's brain to help him expand his network so that they can eventually gain control of the entire world together. Elle remains
what the hell kind of Dr. Doofenshmirtz, I want to control the entire world bullshit is this nigga on, bro? What the fuck?
Completely calm while he processes Epstein's specific phrasing and
Yo,
body language through the feed. He can
average
tell that
Disney
Epstein
villain.
actually believes this, and that he truly wants to be the
Cartoon
invisible
villain.
hand moving civilization. He can also see that Epstein isn't afraid of him at all. If anything, Epstein is actually excited by him. Now, Epstein was clearly expecting some kind of a big response here, but Elle stays completely quiet on the voice chat. Then Watari walks back to the table, picks up a few wrapped chocolates, and puts them in his pocket. He just says, "I'll take some for the flight if you don't mind." And with that, he asks a staff member to tell their helicopter pilot that they're ready to leave. The moment is so absurd and so deliberately anticlimactic that Epstein doesn't even know how to respond. He expects a negotiation or a rejection, or maybe even an acceptance. But in all the decades he has operated, he had never experienced a complete dismissal like this.
Imagine the price of condoms if he ran the world. They'd probably still be the same. Nigga, them shits go for like $1. One goes for like $1. So it's like you can get 10 for $1. Or sometimes they come in bundles where you just pay $2 and you get like 5. It's crazy.
Thought that since Elle already knew the truth, he could just offer him a partnership, but this is how it went?
Hypothetically, nigga. Hey, I'm ready, nigga. Hey, hold on, look. Hypothetically. Yeah, hypothetically. No, don't fall.
Little did Epstein know that the reason
You're
Elle
never
didn't
using those? You're never using those? Watch me.
respond at the end was because the voice chat was actually a recording. I mean, did I mention that the helicopter pilot is actually Elle himself? He wanted to physically observe the island with his own eyes, so he tagged along disguised as the pilot. All the while, his voice recording kept Epstein occupied. Next, as the helicopter takes off, Elle looks down at the compound, shrinking below him. Okay, what now? If the FBI director is already compromised, and if Epstein's influence extends across multiple countries, how is Elle going to defeat him? It's a problem, especially considering how the longer it takes, the more Epstein's influence is going to grow. Plus, you have to remember this is still 2006, which is well before what happened in 2008. Elle knows that he has to act right away, so he decides to go all in on the affidavit. He realizes he has to crack everything Epstein has built to neutralize that influence, and that includes making the truth mainstream as early as possible. In our world, it's taken until basically this year for the general public, especially in Western countries, to get a clear idea of what was really going on. But Elle needs to get it out within 20 hours, not 20 years. He starts by looking into potential journalists who might already be onto Epstein. And while he's reading through the Miami Herald, he finds Julie K. Brown. She's already doing exactly what he needs. In reality, she's the one who eventually got the former police chief and lead detective to talk publicly about how the case was sabotaged. And her series, Perversion of Justice, was what explained how Epstein secured that lenient plea deal in 2008. Okay, so Elle seeks her out immediately and shares everything he has learned with her. Now, Elle knows that journalists can do much. They publish, people read, and then what? Some victims might come forward, but many would be either too afraid or too deep into the system to go public. After all, Epstein reportedly used the phrase, "Those who help him will be compensated, and those who hurt him will be dealt with," to intimidate witnesses into staying quiet. What Elle really needs is to create an irreversible cascade of information that makes the truth impossible to contain. He begins gathering as much data as possible to build a web that includes all the records of flights on the Lolita Express, financial donations, and public photos. He makes notes on which individuals were likely there for business, as in financial or political leverage, and which were there for pleasure. Then, for every compromised official like the FBI director, Elle identifies a clean counterpart or a political rival who would love nothing more than to see that person burn. This is obviously easier said than done, and Elle needs
That prostitution isn't that rare though? It's not. It's genuinely not. Like it's not. Like it's happening now. right, more than ever, really. I'm not gonna lie, it's literally happening more every year. It happens more and more and more and more, to the point where it's not even gonna be seen as a big thing now. Niggas get paid, and it's not even like a thing as like people going, oh, it's just you like standing on the side of the street and like making a whole show about it, like, oh, I'm selling myself or something like that. No, it's not even that. It's like literally, if you can pay for it, that's prostitution. If you can pay for it, that if it's like, if you can exchange, if it's like a job, you can exchange work for currency, that's prostitution. Bro, a friend of my dad's accidentally took prostitution for a ride because he thought he needed that ride. Like, what do you mean? Like, he utilized it, or like what? He like
needs help from
like
hundreds of people like Reverie and Julie K. Brown, but once he has enough solid information organized into a digital web, he prepares to make it public through multiple channels. And here's where L's genius really shows itself. He knows that if he just dumps everything at once, the story would become too big too fast, and it'll be easier for the general public to dismiss it as a conspiracy. Plus, mainstream news outlets would get too many shutdown calls from their powerful friends. So L does something counterintuitive. When he's ready to release it, he intentionally leaves out the names of the most powerful people. The initial release focuses entirely on Epstein's trafficking and blackmailing ring, how it operates, how long it had been running, and how girls were recruited at schools. The web mentions that powerful people were involved. It has to, just to explain the scale, but it doesn't name them. Again, this is to simply make sure that the initial wave of coverage focuses on the crime itself, rather than the politics of naming names. Media runs with it. Within 20 hours, the story stops being a local scandal and becomes global, and that's when L makes his second move. He sends anonymous emails to the rivals of every compromised official he's identified, and he sends them the full web. He just gives them the truth and trusts that enough of them, for enough different reasons, will act. Some will act because they have a moral compass. Some will act because they see a massive political advantage. And some will act simply because they're terrified of being implicated themselves. But even after that, L is just getting started. The next step is going directly after the names on Epstein's list. L anonymously sends a highly sanitized, encrypted message to a select few of the most powerful people on that list. Specifically, the ones he deduced were only there for business leverage. Since they were there for business, it's easier for them to talk their way out of the truly messed up stuff. So L's message to them is
since they know what's going on, though, since they know what's going on, wouldn't they be a liability? They're in the business, yes, but like, since they know what's going on the island, wouldn't they be like a liability? Because like, they could like rat or snitch, and you have to have it out in 20 hours. So like, wouldn't they be a detrimental piece to the puzzle, or am I bugging?
Has all the blackmail material, and they have to cooperate now, or it's a declaration of war. This is how L creates absolute paranoia to fracture the network from the inside. As much as L wants to destroy the system, he also wants to win his personal game against Epstein, and to do that, he first has to make Epstein a liability that the system he built can no longer afford to protect. Now, remember how I mentioned that L is all three of the top 3 detectives in the world? That's not public information. To the public, the number 2 detective, Geraldo Coyle, and the number 3, Denev, are completely different people. It's a layer of anonymity that gives him 3 different lives to play with. Another thing to keep in mind is that the web L creates isn't omniscient. He doesn't have every single piece of evidence yet. He only has what he's seen or deduced. The real, incriminating evidence only starts pouring in once the story becomes a global incident. Once every major news outlet is on it, the momentum moves faster than anyone can pay to make it stop. This is where L makes his move as Denev. He publicly announces that he was the one who leaked the web, and to protect himself, he reveals that he's created a dead man's switch. If he fails to check in once a day, a final unencrypted version of the entire Epstein network file will be automatically released to every major news outlet and law enforcement agency on the planet. He makes it clear to everyone who is complicit that killing him only makes it worse. And while this looks like an ultimatum, it's actually pure smokescreen to further crack the network. You see, Epstein knows L is behind this because everything started falling apart the moment L entered the chat. However, Epstein's acquaintances, the powerful men backing him, have a different idea. They are not going to go down with him, especially when they realize they can simply launder their crimes through Epstein. And L knows exactly what they're thinking. In his room, he breaks down how Epstein's only utility to his backers was his ability to operate in the shadows. That utility is now gone. He's become a blindingly bright point of light in a scandal that threatens to engulf them all. And because of that, they won't protect him anymore. They'll make him the scapegoat and hope that his conviction calms the public outcry. try. And it works. Within a month of L getting involved, Epstein is convicted. And L doesn't stop there either. Over the next few months, he gradually releases information about the other offenders one by one and keeps the entire network in a state of terminal paranoia. Naturally, once it becomes clear that Deneuve would keep leaking information, regardless of whether he is dead or alive, the hits start getting called in. Multiple contracts are put out on both L and Deneuve. This is where one of them seeks out the help of the world's second best detective.
Wait, but this wouldn't happen if he invites him to the island. Because if he invites him in person to the island, then he knows who it is. Because just like he had the laptop, that's not actually inviting him to the island if it's just a laptop. Because I'm thinking about it, like, if he's going under this alias, then like, if he's on the, well, it would just be his name is different, but they would know his face. They would know his face.
Geraldo Coyle. And of course, that is also
So that
L.
wouldn't work
To
if he was
create a
on the
false
island.
sense of security, L uses his Geraldo Coyle persona to stage the deaths of both L and Deneuve. It creates a massive wave of public outrage. But the people who hired Coyle are satisfied. But they are wrong. As more arrests are made and the power shifts to the clean counterparts L identified earlier, the old guard begins to lose their grip. Still, many offenders remain untouched because, as a certain student in Japan would say, this world is rotten. And speaking of that student, this is where things peak. About half a year after L visited that island, Light Yagami picks up the death note. At this point, the Epstein list is public knowledge. It's the biggest story in the world. So after Light tests the notebook, he starts writing the names of every offender on that list. He strikes his classic pose, looks out over the city and says to himself, this world is rotten, and those who are making it rot deserve to die. Someone has to do it, so why not me? By the end of 2006,
Who
the
else could
Epstein
have done
network
it?
was
You come this
neutralized.
far.
Heart attacks for those who were already on trial.
Would they
Car
have kept
accidents,
going?
Overdoses, apparent suicides. One by one, the names on the list drop dead. Epstein's actual backers, the ones for whom he was doing the blackmailing, watch in frozen terror as everything they've built over decades now dies for no explainable reason. Finally, from an unknown location, L watches the news as a reporter announces yet another unexplained heart attack of a high-profile figure. He reaches for a sugar cube as he tries to make sense of it. Someone is cleaning up Epstein's mess with a power that L doesn't understand. This leads us into a version of L versus
And
Light
somehow
that
he
we've never
still
seen
got it.
before. Because this time, L may just agree with Light.
Nah,
or should I
Good video, not good video. Good video. I ain't gonna lie, good video.